This is Mickey Mouse. A mouse who owns a house. He drives a car. He gardens, takes vacations. He's had lots of jobs in his lifetime. He dates and does various other things. And this is his pet dog named Pluto. He's good and loyal and a bit of a coward. But this is his best friend Goofy, who's also a dog? But why does one talk and the other doesn't? This is the question that's been rattling around in my brain for the majority of my life. Maybe, in fact, you've heard this question at some point in your life, or maybe you've even thought about it yourself. And it's a really good question. It's a funny sort of question. And I have an answer. It's a simple answer. An answer that's been right there in front of our eyes and at the edge of our collective imaginations this whole time. And that answer is, one wears clothes while the other does not. See? Simple. Goofy wears clothes from head to toe. He has a hat, he wears a shirt, under a vest, he has pants, he has shoes, and he has gloves. Pluto, on the other hand, is just a dog. I know what you're thinking. That's it? It's that simple? But see, it's not that simple. Not really. Not when you think about it too long, like me. Because the reason why Mickey is friends with Goofy, a dog, but also has a pet that's a dog, is because Mickey also wears clothes. You see, the clothes are magic. They grant animals sentience. By that I mean consciousness or even self-awareness. Suddenly, a regular animal becomes anthropomorphic and can walk upright, speak language, write and read, build houses, drive cars, go shopping, create a civilization, a community, everything that we can do. You see it over and over, time and time again, in so many different cartoons with talking animals, from Looney Tunes to DuckTales, animal characters wearing clothing. Sometimes it's just a hat and a tie, a shirt, but maybe no pants. And it seems like they only need a single article of clothing to become intelligent. Look, not all of them wear clothes, but a lot of them. And sometimes it's just the smallest bit of clothing. I mean, Bugs Bunny, after all, only wears a pair of gloves. Daffy Duck, on the other hand, as far as we can tell, isn't wearing anything. But I feel like at least once he took his feathers off as if they were a suit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My ultimate point was, the clothes are magic. That's the conclusion I came to. And with that, I started building a world and creating a comic book series based on this notion, this funny little thing that grabbed hold of my brain and shook it awake. I thought about the years I spent watching animal cartoons, and this idea was just sort of banging and bouncing around in the background, and then one day it started rolling down the hill, picking up momentum and everything in its path until it got bigger and bigger and finally slammed into me like a cartoon mallet to the head. There are just so many cartoon characters across history that wear clothes, walk and talk, behave just like people in a world full of nothing but other talking animals. But occasionally they interact with what we would consider normal animals. This is weird, and of course the reason why any of it is this way is because the animators were just trying to have fun and they wanted animal characters to walk and talk and do things like we do, but all they know is being human, so you just translate the human world and switch out the humans for animals, then everything else stays the same. And it's a little weird. They weren't thinking deeply about it, and I'm grateful for that because it gave me the opportunity to overthink and become obsessed with this idea that the clothes are magic. Because I just couldn't wrap my head around why a character like Donald Duck struts around in a sailor's top with no pants, and yet he feels perfectly okay this way, and society accepts him as such. I mean, occasionally he'll get embarrassed and cover himself as if he weren't naked from the bottom down the whole time. It's a funny sort of thing when you think about it, that in 100 plus years of talking animal cartoons and talking animal comics, we see animals being used instead of humans over and over and over again. And no one completely gives an excuse as to why they are using talking animals. Now, for many of them, I think it's the same as what happened with me, where by the time I was born and watching cartoons and reading comics with talking animals in them, these things had already been around for 60 to 70 years. And that's more than enough time for something to become culturally ingrained. It's enough time for the origins of something to have been lost or sufficiently muddled. And I truly believe that's what happened. We reached a point where we just didn't care why the first person drew pants on a cartoon goat. So for me, I watched a lot of talking animal cartoons as a kid, and even watched the original DuckTales. And it was around that time that I actually started really thinking about the Mickey, Pluto, Goofy conundrum. And I feel like I'm not alone in this, because in the 2017 DuckTales, there's a moment. In Season 3, Episode 9, they put a moonlander named Penumbra in the show. She's an alien who lived in a city on the moon and is now living on Earth. And see, she's hanging out with the duck kids, learning about doing Earth stuff. They're on the Duckburg Pier, and they're feeding ducks. Like regular, everyday Earth ducks. And Penumbra stops feeding the ducks, pulls back, and looks over at the kids, then down at the ducks, and back at the kids. She then has this look of absolute horror on her face. I found this fascinating, and it sent me down a rabbit hole of talking cartoon animals wearing clothes across our history, from The Adventures of the Little Koala to Mapletown and DuckTales, Usagi Yojimbo, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, Agretzko, Pogo, Rocco's Modern Life, Albedo to Odd Taxi, Zootopia. As an artist and writer, I think that there really is a magic that bubbled up to the surface some time ago, and we latched onto it in concept and execution. But somewhere along the way, we lost the meaning behind the magic of it all. But maybe it's time to talk about that magic. So thank you for listening to me rant on and on about talking cartoon animals and that the clothes are magic. This is a topic that means a lot to me, and it means just as much to me that you watch this video. This is the first in a series of videos that I want to produce and expand on about this very topic, because, as I said earlier, I'm actually working on a comic book series, Nevada Mondi, about talking animal characters and the clothes being magic. If you want to see more of these videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you want to read the comic book, it's available online, links in the description below. I also have a Patreon where I make comics and animation and talk about these kinds of things from time to time, so your support would be greatly appreciated, but also tell a friend and make sure to tell them that the clothes are magic.